The night sky over Earth was unnervingly still, a deep, endless black stretching across the horizon. Not a single star flickered as the alien ships descended toward Earth, their massive forms blocking out the faint glow of distant constellations. Their technology was advanced, far beyond anything humanity could comprehend. They had come from the distant corners of the galaxy, a ruthless force set on conquest, and Earth had been chosen as their next target. Humans had heard the rumors, stories of planets falling one by one, entire civilizations wiped out without mercy. And now, the same fate seemed to be approaching Earth. The governments had tried to prepare, but their efforts were futile. The aliens had arrived faster than anyone expected, and their weapons were devastating. They were powerful, and Earth had no idea how to fight them off. The world was paralyzed with fear, the global defense systems crippled in the initial waves of the alien attack. The alien fleet was enormous, hovering just outside Earth's atmosphere. It seemed like a nightmare that would never end. There was no way for Earth's defense forces to stop them. The alien ships, sleek and terrifying, emitted an energy field that disabled anything that came near them. Earth's satellites had been taken out in an instant, and any attempts to communicate with the outside world had failed. It was clear. Humanity was defenseless. Inside the global command center, military leaders from around the world gathered, staring at screens that showed the alien ships hovering above Earth. There was a tense silence in the room. No one knew what to do. The power grids were failing. Cities were falling. Earth's greatest hope now seemed to lie in a miracle. They had prepared for war, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Suddenly, just as the alien forces began deploying their landing ships, a faint signal broke through the static, piercing the global silence. It was barely a whisper, but it was enough to draw the attention of the military leaders. "This is Earth Fleet Command. We are operational. Repeat, Earth Fleet Command is operational." The room erupted in chaos. The message was clear but impossible to believe. The Earth Fleet, a fleet of ships, the existence of which had been kept a secret for years, now stood ready to fight back. But where had they been all this time? Why hadn't anyone known about them? The truth was, for years, a select few had known about this secret fleet. Hidden in the deepest corners of Earth, the fleet had been built in silence, waiting for the day when humanity would need it most. Now that day had arrived. As the alien ships began their descent toward Earth's surface, the sky suddenly lit up with a brilliant flash of light. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The immense power that the Earth fleet unleashed in that moment was like nothing the invaders had ever seen. Massive warships, sleek and armed with weapons that could only be described as unstoppable, shot out from hidden bases on Earth's moon and deep space stations. The alien invaders had no idea what was coming. The first wave of Earth's fleet emerged from the shadows of space like an unstoppable tide. Fighter ships streaked across the sky, cutting through the alien defenses with ruthless precision. The massive capital ships, long thought to be nothing more than a dream, fired off high-powered energy blasts that slammed into the alien fleet. The alien ships that had been hovering so confidently above Earth began to fall back, scrambling to reposition themselves. In that moment, the tide began to shift. Humanity wasn't defenseless anymore. The fleet that no one had known existed was now taking the fight directly to the invaders. Inside the flagship of Earth's fleet, Commander Alex Stone stood at the helm, his hand steady on the controls. His eyes were fixed on the tactical map, watching as Earth's fleet tore into the alien invaders. The sight was like nothing he had ever seen. Ships from every corner of Earth's fleet were coordinating their attacks with military precision. The first wave of humanity's retaliatory strike was enough to send shockwaves through the alien forces. The sheer force and speed of the attack left the invaders reeling. But Alex knew this was only the beginning. The aliens weren't going to give up easily. They had come prepared for battle, and Earth's victory in this first round didn't mean the war was over. In fact, Alex could sense the tension growing. The aliens would not just back down because of one surprise attack. They were an experienced force, one that had wiped out entire civilizations in their wake. They would retaliate, and they would do it hard. As the first few minutes of the battle unfolded, it was clear that Earth's fleet had the advantage. The aliens, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the fleet, scrambled to organize their forces. But as the seconds ticked by, their response grew stronger. Their ships, more numerous than Earth's fleet, began to fire back. Alien weapons lit up the sky as their capital ships retaliated with energy blasts that rocked Earth's fleet to its core. Alex barked orders, coordinating the fleet's movements, pushing back the alien ships with everything they had. His voice was calm, his mind focused on the task at hand. This wasn't just about defending Earth. This was about showing the galaxy that humanity could fight back. They wouldn't go down without a fight. But as the first battle raged on, something unexpected happened. One of the alien ships, much larger than the rest, began to glow with a strange energy. It was charging up its weapon. The energy began to build, swirling around the ship, ready to unleash destruction, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. This weapon was unlike any of the alien weapons humanity had encountered before. It was a doomsday device, capable of wiping out cities in seconds. The countdown began. Earth's fleet had to act fast. Time was running out, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The first strike had been made, but the fight was far from over. The question on everyone's mind was simple. Could humanity's fleet hold its ground against the full might of the alien invasion? Would Earth's defenses be enough to stop the destruction from reaching the planet's surface? The answer, Alex knew, lay in the hearts of the men and women piloting the ships of Earth's fleet. It was not just technology they had to rely on. It was their will to survive. And the fight had only just begun. The battle in the skies above Earth intensified as the alien fleet regrouped and began to retaliate. The first wave of Earth's fleet had caught them off guard, but the aliens were quick to recover. Their ships, more advanced and numerous, began to unleash a storm of firepower that shook the very atmosphere. The bright flashes of energy beams and explosions filled the sky as Earth's fleet pushed forward, determined to hold their ground. Commander Alex Stone, watching from the bridge of the flagship, knew this wasn't the time to relax. The initial shock had worn off, and now the aliens were coming at them with everything they had. His orders rang out, precise and calculated. Engage with full force. Keep their ships scattered. He commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. The fleet had the upper hand for now, but the aliens were not a force to underestimate. The largest of their ships had already powered up its weapons, and it was only a matter of time before they launched a devastating counterattack. The first direct hit came from a massive alien ship that fired a deadly energy beam directly at the lead ship of Earth's fleet. The explosion rattled the entire flagship, knocking the crew off their feet. Alarms blared as the ship's systems struggled to compensate for the damage. "We've lost power in the aft section," the engineer shouted. Alex quickly regained his composure. "Divert all available energy to shields and weapons," he ordered. Earth's fleet was taking heavy hits, but they were still in the fight. The alien ships were now closing in, their weapons firing relentlessly. Earth's ships maneuvered in tight formations, dodging and returning fire, using their speed and agility to stay one step ahead. But for every alien ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The battle felt like a never-ending onslaught. However, despite the mounting pressure, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something bigger, a chance to push the aliens back for good. Meanwhile, down below on Earth's surface, cities were in chaos. Governments were scrambling to coordinate civilian evacuations, but the alien forces had already begun their descent. Small pods from the larger ships dropped to Earth, spreading destruction in their wake. The planet's most advanced defense systems had been wiped out within hours of the alien arrival. Humanity's cities, built over generations, were crumbling under the alien invasion. Despite the military's best efforts, there was little that could be done to prevent the onslaught from reaching the heart of civilization. Back in space, Alex's fleet was holding its ground but with growing exhaustion. The Earth fleet had not been designed for this kind of prolonged conflict. The resources were limited, and every shot fired drained their energy reserves. As the hours stretched on, the crew on each ship grew tired, their faces pale from lack of sleep and the constant bombardment. But there was no time to rest. They had to hold the line. The invaders weren't just relying on their powerful weapons, they were calculating. As the fight raged, Alex could see their strategy unfolding. The aliens were not just attacking in waves, they were trying to wear down Earth's fleet, forcing them into a position where a final strike would be the decisive blow. And they weren't alone. The alien armada had more ships in reserve, hidden in the shadow of nearby moons and asteroid fields. A fleet this large could keep the pressure on for weeks, maybe longer, until Earth's resistance was exhausted. Just as Alex began to consider the possibility that this battle might be a long-term fight, a sudden transmission broke through the radio static. It was faint, crackling with interference, but it was clear enough to send a jolt through his body. Earth Fleet Command, this is the Alliance. We're en route. Hang on. Alex's heart skipped a beat. The Alliance? Humanity had no idea they had allies outside of Earth. It had been a secret, one kept hidden by the governments of the world. But now, it seemed that humanity's efforts had caught the attention of other civilizations. These allies, though unknown, were a glimmer of hope. The timing couldn't have been better. As Earth's fleet continued to hold off the alien forces, Alex's thoughts raced. If these allies arrived in time, they could turn the tide of the battle. But there was no guarantee that they would arrive soon enough. The alien fleet was still overwhelming, their attacks relentless. Despite their shock and fury, the Earth fleet had so far managed to hold their ground. But the longer the battle dragged on, the more likely it was that the aliens would adapt to humanity's tactics. Status report, Commander, the tactical officer called out. Alex looked at the screen, his mind focused on the incoming data. The numbers weren't good. Earth's fleet was running low on ammunition, fuel reserves were dangerously low, and several of their ships were badly damaged. The odds were getting worse by the minute, but Alex refused to give up. Humanity had survived impossible odds before, and this was no different. They would fight until the very end. The seconds ticked away as Alex prepared for the next phase of the battle. The aliens might have underestimated Earth's resolve in the beginning, but they were beginning to realize that humanity wasn't as defenseless as they thought. As the ships of the Earth fleet continued to clash with the alien forces, the skies above Earth were painted with a breathtaking yet terrifying spectacle, a sign that humanity was willing to fight for its survival. And soon, the Alliance would arrive. But could they arrive in time to tip the scales in humanity's favor? Or would Earth fall to the invaders before their reinforcements could even make it into the fray? The next few hours would determine everything. As the battle in Earth's orbit raged on, the stakes grew higher with each passing minute. The initial shock of the alien invasion had faded, replaced by the grim reality of an all-out war. Earth's fleet, though holding its own in the face of overwhelming odds, was beginning to feel the strain. Ships were slowly becoming damaged, and the alien forces, despite the surprise attack from Earth's hidden fleet, were relentless. The invaders had regrouped and were pressing forward with even more vigor, their massive warships now fully engaged in battle. Commander Alex Stone stood firm at the helm of his flagship, the Defender, as a barrage of enemy fire rocked the ship. His heart pounded in his chest, but his face remained calm. He could feel the weight of the moment, knowing that every decision he made could determine the fate of humanity. Around him, the crew worked in perfect synchronization, despite the chaos. There was no time for fear now, only action. Every order was executed with precision, but even Alex could sense the danger that loomed over them. The alien ships were adapting to their tactics. They had been caught off guard at first, But now they were fighting back with a fury that left little room for mistakes. Alien warships with advanced shields and devastating weapons now filled the skies above Earth. The once defiant Earth fleet was beginning to feel the pressure of a fight that was far from even. With every alien ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place, and those were just the ships visible in space. Alex knew that more were hidden in the asteroid fields, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant Harris, her voice tight with urgency. Alex's heart skipped a beat. "Who is it?" he asked, his mind already racing through possibilities. "It's from the Alliance, sir," she said, her eyes wide. "They're here." A wave of relief washed over him. The Alliance, a coalition of various alien races that had long stood against the tyrannical forces in the galaxy, was finally arriving. For years, humanity had known about the Alliance's existence, but had never truly believed they would come to Earth's aid. It seemed almost impossible. Yet, here they were. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The arrival of their ships could be the turning point humanity so desperately needed. "Send them the coordinates. Tell them to engage with full force," Alex ordered, trying to suppress the rush of hope that surged within him. The Alliance was humanity's chance to turn the tide. But even with their arrival, the war was far from over. Earth's fleet still needed to hold on long enough for their reinforcements to make a significant impact. The next few moments felt like an eternity as the Alliance fleet began to break through the chaos of battle. From the dark void of space, massive ships of different designs, some sleek and fast, others hulking and armored, emerged into view. The sheer sight of them was enough to spark a flicker of hope in the hearts of Earth's soldiers. Their weapons fired in unison, blasting apart alien ships with precision. The attackers were stunned, their formations breaking as they struggled to counter the combined force of Earth and the Alliance. Alex watched as the Defender's radar screen came to life with new blips marking the Alliance's ships. Their advanced energy weapons were far superior to anything Earth had. With their combined firepower, the tide of battle started to shift. Earth's ships rallied, pushing back against the alien forces with renewed vigor. Explosions lit up the void of space as the invaders' ships were torn apart, one by one. The first wave of alien reinforcements began to retreat as their lines crumbled under the pressure. But Alex knew this victory would be short-lived if they didn't act fast. The alien fleet, though stunned by the sudden arrival of the Alliance, was still vast, and Earth's fleet was not invincible. There were only so many ships, and their ammunition and fuel were running dangerously low. The next strike from the invaders could tip the scales back in their favor. "Commander, we're seeing a significant power fluctuation on the enemy flagship," reported Lieutenant Harris. "It looks like they're charging up a planet-destroying weapon. If they fire this, it could obliterate half of Earth's defenses in a single strike." Alex's mind raced. The aliens had shown their true colors. This wasn't just an invasion for resources. It was a full-scale attempt at annihilation. If they had access to such a weapon, humanity could lose everything in the blink of an eye. Earth had to act now, or the war would be lost. "Prepare for a coordinated strike on their flagship," Alex ordered, his voice cold and determined. "We hit them with everything we've got. We're not letting them fire that weapon." The plan was simple: a direct assault on the alien flagship. Earth's fleet, with the assistance of the Alliance, would take the fight to the heart of the enemy forces, using their combined power to overwhelm the flagship's defenses before it could unleash its devastating weapon. The countdown had already begun. Time was running out. The battle that followed was a chaotic dance of destruction. Earth's ships, guided by the precision of their commanders, moved with purpose and fury. The Alliance ships fired with deadly accuracy, their weapons carving through the alien fleet like a hot knife through butter. Explosions filled the vacuum of space as enemy ships were torn apart by concentrated fire. But the alien flagship, though heavily damaged, was still standing. The countdown to its weapons firing reached critical levels. Full power to engines. All ships, engage the flagship now. Alex barked. The Earth fleet surged forward, cutting through the remaining alien forces. The Alliance followed closely behind, adding their firepower to the relentless assault. The flagship's defenses were stretched thin, and as Alex's flagship closed the distance, he could see the glowing core of the alien weapon powering up. He didn't hesitate. Now, Alex shouted. In a coordinated strike, every remaining ship in the Earth fleet, along with the Alliance, opened fire on the alien flagship. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts rained down on the massive vessel, tearing through its shields and burning through its hull. The flagship shuddered under the assault, its weapon now destabilizing. Then, with a deafening roar that shook the stars, the alien flagship erupted in a brilliant explosion. For a moment, silence reigned in the void of space. The last of the alien ships scattered in panic, the survivors retreating into the deep reaches of the galaxy. Earth's fleet, battered but victorious, drifted through the debris as the magnitude of their triumph began to sink in. The battle was over for now. But Alex knew this victory was only the beginning. The aliens would return, and next time, they would be ready. For Earth had shown them one thing. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The battle had barely ended when Earth's fleet, still licking its wounds from the fight, began to survey the damage. The vastness of the victory was evident in the debris of the alien fleet scattered across the void of space. The sky above Earth, which had been marred with flashes of fiery explosions and alien weaponry, was now eerily silent. The alien flagship, once a symbol of the invaders' strength, had been reduced to a massive cloud of smoke and twisted metal. Humanity had scored a decisive victory, but the cost had been high, and the war was far from over. Inside the Defender, Commander Alex Stone walked through the dimly lit corridors, his boots echoing softly. His face, usually composed and calm, was now etched with exhaustion. His eyes were tired, but there was a sense of grim satisfaction that lingered. They had won, but he knew that this was just the beginning. He had seen the fear in the faces of the crew, the uncertainty that had crept in once the alien reinforcements started arriving. They had fought a powerful enemy and managed to repel them. But the question now was whether Earth was truly safe. As Alex entered the command center, Lieutenant Harris stood up from her console and gave him a brief nod. Her face, too, was tired, but there was a flicker of pride in her eyes. "Commander, we've received reports from all over the globe. The ground forces are still dealing with the alien pods that landed, but the worst of the invasion is over. The fleet's strike on their flagship has left the invaders scattered and disoriented." Alex took a deep breath. "Good. But this isn't over. We fought off the first wave, but the enemy will regroup. They'll come back stronger, more prepared." He knew that alien invasions didn't happen by accident. The aliens had clearly been planning this attack for years. The defeat of their flagship might have shattered their current offensive, but it didn't mean they would give up on their goal of conquering Earth. "Understood, sir," Harris said. "But we've also received word from the Alliance. They've confirmed that reinforcements are on their way. More ships are being dispatched to Earth as we speak. It seems they were just waiting for the right moment to join the fight." Alex nodded, though the feeling of hope was tempered by the reality of what was to come. The Alliance's support was a welcome sight, but he knew the stakes were too high to rely solely on them. Humanity had shown that it could fight back, but Earth was still vulnerable. And the alien fleets were relentless. Once they regrouped, they would surely return in full force. "We need to be ready," Alex said firmly. "I want the fleet on high alert. Begin repairs, refuel the ships, and prepare for another assault. The aliens won't stay down for long." Harris nodded, her fingers already moving over her console to send the orders out to the fleet. Alex turned his gaze to the large holographic map of Earth and its surrounding space, watching as the data from the ongoing battle poured in. Earth's defenses were scattered, but there were pockets of resistance forming on the ground. Cities were beginning to rebuild, but there was still work to be done. The alien pods that had landed around the world were still a threat, and humanity's soldiers were fighting in the trenches to reclaim their cities. The immediate danger of the fleet was over, but the war was far from won. Back on Earth, the world was in turmoil. Cities that had once been thriving metropolises were now in ruins. People lived in fear of alien attacks, unsure whether the worst was truly behind them. Governments were trying to stabilize, organizing civilian evacuations, and preparing for the next wave. The aliens had proven their capability. Earth's armies might have repelled the first invasion, but the prospect of another strike loomed over everyone's heads like a dark cloud. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a sense of unity that had not been seen before. Countries, once divided by political differences, were now working together to rebuild and defend their home. For the first time in history, humanity had faced a common enemy, and the result had been an alliance forged in the heat of battle. People from all corners of the globe had come together to fight for survival. Humanity's resolve had never been stronger. Meanwhile, in space, Earth's fleet continued to regroup and prepare for the inevitable return of the alien forces. Alex knew that the next battle would be even more brutal. The aliens had learned from their initial defeat, and Earth could not afford to be complacent. The fleet would need more advanced weapons, more ships, and better coordination to hold their ground. If humanity was to stand a chance in this ongoing war, they would need to continue to evolve, adapt to the changing tide of battle. Alex took a long look out of the viewing port. Earth, a small blue dot in the vast emptiness of space, was all he had ever known. It was fragile, vulnerable, but it was also resilient. He had seen humanity at its worst and at its best, and right now, Earth was showing its strength. If they could survive this, if they could overcome the alien invaders, then perhaps the galaxy would finally see Earth for what it truly was, a force to be reckoned with. Commander, Lieutenant Harris's voice interrupted his thoughts. We've just received an encrypted message from the Alliance. They found something big, a new threat. It's not just the aliens we've been fighting. There's a larger enemy, and it's much more dangerous. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He turned to her sharply. What do you mean, a larger enemy? It's an alien empire, Harris replied, her voice tense. And they've already set their sights on Earth. A cold chill ran down Alex's spine. The battle they had just fought was nothing more than a prelude. Earth's victory over the first wave of invaders had been hard won, but now a new, more powerful threat was emerging. It seemed the universe was not yet done with Earth, and the stakes had just been raised to a whole new level. Alex's mind raced as he processed the information. They had thought the alien invaders were the worst humanity would face. But now they knew the truth. Earth was not just a target of one alien race. It was caught in the crosshairs of something much larger. The real war had only just begun. Prepare the fleet, Alex said, his voice cold with determination. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the future of our world. And this time, we're not going to back down. As the Earth fleet began to mobilize for the unknown enemy that lay ahead, Alex knew one thing for sure. Humanity's fight was far from over. The universe had underestimated Earth once, but it wouldn't make that mistake again. This time, humanity would show them that they had no intention of being conquered. The days following the initial alien retreat passed in a whirlwind of activity. While the immediate threat from the first wave had been neutralized, humanity's fight was far from over. Commander Alex Stone stood at the command center of the Defender, staring at the holographic map of Earth and its surroundings. Ships were being repaired, refueled, and rearmed. Civilians were being moved to safer locations. The damage on Earth was severe, but the planet's resilience was showing. People had come together in ways never imagined before. But in the back of Alex's mind, a nagging thought lingered. A new enemy. The message from the Alliance had shattered any sense of false security Alex had been clinging to. The alien empire that was now targeting Earth was a far more significant threat than the invaders who had previously attacked. The galaxy had never seen an enemy like this before, a vast, well-organized empire that ruled through fear and absolute control. And worst of all, they were now aware of humanity's existence. The new alien empire, as it was described, was unlike anything Earth had faced. Its fleets were rumored to be vast, stretching across multiple star systems. Their technology was incomprehensibly advanced, and their culture was built on domination, with no tolerance for resistance. If Earth were to stand any chance, it would need to join forces with every ally it could find. Alliances would be crucial in the coming war. "We've received a communication from the Alliance leadership," Lieutenant Harris announced, breaking Alex's reverie. "They're requesting a conference. They want to discuss our next steps." Alex nodded. "Put them through." A moment later, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing the faces of Commander Valora and Admiral Crix, the leaders of the Alliance forces. They were both alien beings. Valora was a tall, slender figure with striking blue skin and piercing yellow eyes. Crix was shorter, with a stocky build and a pair of sharp antennae on his forehead, typical of his species. Their faces were stern, and their eyes met Alex's without hesitation, showing no sign of weakness. "Commander Stone," Valora's voice was calm, but filled with urgency. "We must address the situation at hand. We've intercepted communications from the alien empire, and they are already mobilizing. They are not taking our victory lightly." Alex stood straighter, knowing that the future of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was at stake. "We're ready for whatever they bring," he said, his voice firm. But even as he spoke, the weight of the situation pressed down on him. Earth had fought bravely, but it was still relatively unprepared for the kind of conflict the alien empire would bring. Admiral Crix spoke next, his voice rough but determined. "The Empire does not negotiate. They believe in domination and subjugation. If they decide to attack, it will not be like anything you've faced before. They have fleets that can overwhelm entire star systems." Alex's stomach tightened. "How much time do we have before they make their move?" Valora's face hardened. "Not long. They move quickly. We can already detect their ships on the move toward your sector. If they arrive and Earth is unprepared, they will destroy everything." Alex's thoughts raced. Time was against them. Earth's fleet was strong, but against a threat of this magnitude, they might not even stand a chance. The Alliance had proven invaluable in the last battle, but now they needed more than just reinforcements. They needed a strategy that would counter the sheer might of the Empire. "We need to prepare for their arrival," Alex said, his voice colder than before. "If they intend to destroy us, we won't make it easy for them. We fight on our terms." Valora nodded. "We have already begun to mobilize our forces, but we will need your cooperation. The Alliance has the technology and resources, but you know your home better than anyone. We will help you plan your defenses, but we need Earth's leadership to act quickly." Alex thought for a moment, then turned to Harris, who had been watching the exchange quietly. "Get the global leaders on a call. It's time we all put aside our differences and form a united front. Tell them what we're facing." Harris nodded and quickly moved to relay the order. Meanwhile, Alex's mind was running over the possibilities. He knew they couldn't afford to make the same mistakes. The last battle had been a fluke, a combination of surprise and preparation. This time, the enemy wouldn't be caught off guard, and Earth's resources, though vast, were still limited. They had only one chance to win, and that chance would depend on alliances, strategy, and sheer determination. Meanwhile, the Alliance ships continued to arrive, one after another, slipping through the stars like shadows. Their presence was a beacon of hope, but it also reminded Alex of how precarious humanity's position was. He could see their ships in the distance, hovering just outside Earth's orbit, waiting for his orders. But what could he do with such limited time? His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden blip on his screen. A fleet, massive in size, was appearing on the outer rim of Earth's defense perimeter. They had arrived. The first wave of the alien empire was here. "They're early," Alex muttered under his breath. "Commander, we've confirmed the fleet is hostile," Lieutenant Harris reported. "They've begun to power up their weapons. They mean to engage immediately." Alex's mind snapped into action. The battle was no longer theoretical. The enemy was here, and Earth had no choice but to face them head-on. "All ships, prepare for immediate defense. Get our weapons online. Prepare the laser arrays, missile pods, and shield systems. We need to be ready to engage them as soon as they cross the line." The orders were quickly followed by the fleet, and the tense moments that followed were filled with a mixture of anxiety and determination. Every crew member knew this was their chance to make a stand, to prove that humanity was no longer the weak, defenseless species the galaxy had once seen them as. The arrival of the alien empire was their greatest challenge yet, but it was also their defining moment. As Alex stood at the helm, watching the fleet assemble, a voice echoed through the intercom. It was the Alliance's Admiral Crix. "Commander Stone, we're with you," he said. "We fight for Earth now. Together, we can hold them off. Together, we can win." Alex stood tall, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders, but a new fire burning within him. The universe had underestimated Earth, and now they were going to learn that humanity would not go down without a fight. "Prepare for battle," Alex said, his voice steady. "Let's show them what Earth is capable of." The first shots rang out. The war for Earth's survival had begun. The air was thick with tension as the first salvo from the alien empire's fleet shattered the silence of space. Earth's defenses, though hastily prepared, responded with everything they had. Laser cannons flared to life, sending blinding beams of light streaking into the black void. Missiles shot forth, their engines roaring as they shot toward the oncoming enemy ships. Yet despite Earth's best efforts, the alien fleet, massive and organized, absorbed the hits with a cold, calculated efficiency. Their advanced shields deflected most of the fire, and their counterattacks came fast and furious. Commander Alex Stone stood at the command center, watching the unfolding chaos with a mixture of focus and dread. The initial wave of alien ships was just a fraction of the full force they had sent. They had no idea just how much more the invaders had in reserve. Earth's fleet had been quick to respond, but the alien empire's firepower was overwhelming. This wasn't just an invasion, it was a full-scale annihilation. "Shields at 40% and dropping," shouted Lieutenant Harris from across the room. Her hands flew across the console, trying to keep up with the incoming data. "We're losing ships at the outer perimeter. The alien weapons are devastating our defenses." Alex's eyes narrowed. It wasn't just the size of the alien fleet that worried him. It was the sheer sophistication of their technology. The alien ships seemed to move as one, a coordinated swarm of destruction. Their weapons tore through the air with unmatched precision, while their ships appeared to anticipate Earth's moves before the humans even had a chance to react. "Commander, their flagship is locking onto our main defense satellites," Harris said urgently. "If they hit those, it could knock out all our communication and defense systems. We'll be completely blind to their movements." Alex gritted his teeth. The stakes were higher than ever. If the flagship destroyed Earth's satellite network, the fleet would be unable to track the alien movements, leaving them vulnerable to surprise attacks. "Lieutenant, get the long-range cannons online and target their flagship. We can't afford to let them take out our satellites." He turned to the rest of the bridge crew. "We need to make them regret thinking Earth is an easy target. Prepare for a counteroffensive. Nothing fancy, just raw firepower." As the crew scrambled to execute his orders, Alex's mind raced. Time was running out, and Earth's fleet was not built to withstand such an assault for long. His instincts told him that they needed reinforcements, but there was no telling how long it would take for the Alliance to arrive with additional support. They needed to act fast, or Earth could lose its best chance at survival. Across the vastness of space, the alien flagship loomed large. Its massive shape seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, dwarfing everything around it. Hundreds of smaller ships flanked it, providing an impenetrable wall of protection. The flagship was the heart of the invasion, and if it fell, the entire alien fleet might falter. But the difficulty was immense. The flagship was heavily armored and shielded. A direct assault could very well lead to the destruction of Earth's own ships, but Alex had little choice. Target locked. Lieutenant Harris's voice cut through the tension. Firing on the flagship now. The defender shuddered as the long-range cannons fired their deadly payload. Massive energy bolts shot through space, heading straight for the alien flagship. But just as they reached the target, the alien vessel's shields flared up, blocking the attack. The explosion of energy that followed sent ripples through the void, but the flagship remained unharmed. The aliens were one step ahead. As expected, their shields were beyond anything Earth had encountered before. They could absorb more fire than Earth's ships could dish out. Yet even as Alex watched his fleet's efforts fall short, he couldn't help but feel a spark of determination. The flagship was still their target, and it was vulnerable in ways the invaders didn't yet realize. They couldn't break through the shields, but maybe, just maybe, they didn't need to. "Lieutenant," Alex began, his voice a little sharper, "we need to target their propulsion system. We don't need to destroy their shields. We need to slow them down. We can catch them off guard and strike when they least expect it."